Johnson, the former NFL Pro Bowl guard, passed away suddenly and unexpectedly at the age of 54 on February 15, 2026, during a family trip. His passing has left family, friends, teammates, and fans in deep shock and mourning. Tre is survived by his loving wife, Irene, and their 4 children, Chloe, EJ, EZ, and Eden, all of whom were the center of his life. Tre Johnson's story is one of talent, perseverance, and heart. He began his football journey at Temple University, where he distinguished himself as a first-team All-East selection. Known for his strength, intelligence, and determination on the field, Tre quickly became a standout player. His remarkable college career led him to the NFL, where he was drafted 31st overall in the second round of the 1994 NFL Draft by the Washington Commanders before the league expanded to 32 teams. Over 9 seasons in the NFL, Tre made 72 starts in 93 appearances, 8 of those years with Washington and 1 with the Cleveland Browns. He was a Pro Bowl selection and a second-team All-Pro in 1999, earning the respect of teammates, coaches, and opponents alike. Tre was known not only for his incredible skill as a guard, but also for his leadership, work ethic, and unwavering dedication to the game. His presence on the field inspired younger players and made him a fan favorite throughout his career. After hanging up his cleats, Tre dedicated himself to shaping young minds as a history teacher at the Landon School in Bethesda, Maryland. Students admired him for his knowledge, patience, and passion for teaching, while colleagues respected him for his professionalism and kind heart. Even as he faced personal health challenges later in life, he never stopped inspiring those around him, whether through mentorship, encouragement, or simply sharing stories from his remarkable journey. Beyond football and teaching, Tre was a devoted husband, father, and friend. His wife Irene shared that he lived for his children, attending every game, every practice, and celebrating every small achievement. He loved riding motorcycles with his friends and sharing quiet, joyful moments with his beloved French bulldogs. Tre had a unique ability to light up a room with his humor, warmth, and presence, making everyone around him feel valued and loved. Tre Johnson's legacy is not measured only in games won or accolades earned, but in the lives he touched. As a father who guided and encouraged, as a teacher who educated and inspired, and as a friend whose loyalty and kindness will be remembered forever. Though his life was tragically cut short, the lessons he taught and the love he shared will endure for generations. Rest in peace, Tre Johnson. Your strength, compassion, and spirit will forever live on in your family, your students, your teammates, and all who had the privilege of knowing you. Timothy Very, the talented drummer of Manchester Orchestra, has passed away, leaving fans, bandmates, and loved ones in profound shock and grief. His sudden passing on February 15, 2026, marks the loss of not only an extraordinary musician, but also a deeply cherished friend, husband, and father. Tim Very joined Manchester Orchestra in 2011, quickly becoming an integral part of the band's sound and spirit. Over more than a decade, he contributed to 4 of the band's landmark albums: Simple Math, 2011, Cope, 2014, A Black Mile to the Surface, 2017, and The Million Masks of God, 2021, as well as their 2023 EP, The Valley of Vision. His drumming was precise, powerful, and passionate, providing the heartbeat for the band's emotionally charged music. But beyond his extraordinary musical talent, Tim was beloved for the person he was off stage. Bandmates remember him as instantly likable, kind, and warm. Someone whose infectious laugh and generosity made strangers feel like friends, and friends feel like family. His humor, energy, and unwavering positivity were a cornerstone of the Manchester Orchestra universe, and his presence lifted everyone around him. Timothy's dedication to music was matched only by his love for his family. Those closest to him knew him as a joyful dad, a devoted partner, and a man who treasured every moment with his loved ones. Even amidst the rigors of touring and recording, he carried a light that inspired everyone he met. The band shared, he had an undeniable light that was only matched by his dedication and love for the craft that he was clearly put on earth to do. No words can ever do him justice. Please know, if you are someone who loved Tim, he loved you too. The only thing that Tim loved more than creating music was being with his family. Timothy Very's legacy is one of music, joy, and kindness. His rhythm will continue to echo in every beat he played, in the albums he helped create, and in the hearts of all who knew him. Though the world has lost his presence, the love, laughter, and light he shared will remain forever. Rest in peace, Timothy Very. Your music, your spirit, and your heart will never be forgotten. Robert Duvall, the legendary actor whose career spanned over 6 decades, has passed away at the age of 95. His death on Sunday, February 16, 2026, was confirmed by his wife, Luciana Duvall, who described him as her beloved husband, cherished friend, and one of the greatest actors of our time. Born to bring characters to life in a way few could, Robert Duvall became a cinematic icon known for his authenticity, versatility, and depth. His career was defined by roles that ranged from the soft-spoken and loyal consigliere in The Godfather to the maniacal, surf-obsessed Lieutenant Colonel William Kilgore in Apocalypse Now. His talent transcended genre, from epic dramas to intimate character studies, leaving an indelible mark on Hollywood and audiences worldwide. Duvall's portrayal of Tom Hagen in the Godfather films established him as a master of subtlety, showing how loyalty, intelligence, and quiet strength could carry as much weight as action or dialogue. In contrast, his unforgettable performance as Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore in Apocalypse Now demonstrated his ability to dominate a scene with energy, charisma, and fearless intensity, a role that became one of cinema's most iconic characters. His dedication to his craft was recognized by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, earning him an Oscar for Best Actor in 1983 for Tender Mercies, where he portrayed a washed-up country singer, rediscovering life, love, and redemption. Over his career, he received 6 other Academy Award nominations, a testament to his consistent brilliance and the respect he commanded among peers. Beyond acting, Duvall was a storyteller. He was a director, a mentor, and a lover of characters, food, and conversation. Luciana Duvall said, "To the world he was an Academy Award-winning actor, a director, a storyteller. To me, he was simply everything." His passion for his craft was matched only by his deep love for characters, a great meal, and holding court. Robert Duvall's influence extended far beyond the screen. He brought authenticity to every role, imbuing characters with humanity, complexity, and nuance. From early supporting roles to award-winning performances, Duvall became synonymous with cinematic excellence. Audiences remember him for moments of quiet intensity, explosive energy, and performances that could captivate in silence as much as in action. Duvall's legacy is a reminder of the power of storytelling and the impact of a life devoted to craft, creativity, and honesty. His work will continue to inspire actors, filmmakers, and fans around the world for generations. As the world mourns the loss of a towering talent, we also celebrate a life well lived, one of dedication, brilliance, and unforgettable characters. Robert Duvall leaves behind a cinematic landscape forever enriched by his performances and a legacy of artistry that will endure forever. Rest in peace, Robert Duvall. Your stories, your characters, and your extraordinary talent will live on in every frame of film, in every scene you graced, and in the hearts of those who loved your work. Susan Grode, the pioneering Hollywood lawyer, tireless advocate for artist rights, and mother of legendary entertainment CEO Josh Grode, has passed away at the age of 86. She died peacefully on February 8, 2026, in Los Angeles, leaving behind a legacy of advocacy, mentorship, and groundbreaking work in the entertainment industry. Born on March 28, 1939, in New York City, Susan Grode began her creative journey as a painter and later worked as an art book editor at Harry and Abrams. Her early passion for art would shape her lifelong dedication to protecting the rights of creative professionals. Moving to Los Angeles, she attended the USC School of Law, graduating as one of only 4 women in her class, a testament to her courage, determination, and trailblazing spirit. After becoming a licensed attorney in California in 1977, Grode focused her legal practice on representing fine artists, authors, writers, and animation creators. Her clients included some of the most influential figures in the arts: Judy Chicago, Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons, the late Steven Hillenburg, creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, and author Laura Numeroff. She helped establish permanent exhibition spaces for artists, including Judy Chicago's seminal work The Dinner Party at the Brooklyn Museum's Elizabeth A. Sackler Center for Feminist Art. As a partner at Catton Muchin LLP, Grode co-chaired the National Entertainment and Media Department until her retirement in 2021. She was instrumental in defining early contractual protections that are now standard in the entertainment industry, ensuring that artists retained both creative and financial rights in their work. Her 1984 book, The Visual Artist's Manual, remains a practical guide for generations of artists navigating their careers. Susan Grode was also a passionate advocate for women's rights and equality. She organized and participated in marches in Washington, D.C., fought for reproductive freedom, equal pay, and other feminist causes, and served on the board of the Miss Foundation. In 2023, she was honored at the Global Women's Rights Awards for her 23 years of pro bono service to the Feminist Majority Foundation. She was a founding member of the Hollywood Women's Political Committee, joining forces with notable figures like Barbra Streisand, Jane Fonda, and Paula Weinstein to advance women's influence in politics and culture. Beyond her professional achievements, Grode was a devoted supporter of the performing arts, serving on the boards of the USC School of Dramatic Arts, the Center Theater Group of Los Angeles, and the Ojai Playwrights Conference. She inspired countless artists, lawyers, and colleagues with her passion, intellect, and generosity. Susan Grode is survived by her sister, Joan Kofsky, her sons, Jason Grode and Joshua Grode, along with Joshua's wife, Lisa, and their children, Jacob, Rachel, and Joe, and her partner, Meryl Georgie. Her legacy is one of courage, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to the creative community and women's rights. Rest in peace, Susan Grode. Your life changed Hollywood, protected artists, empowered women, and inspired generations. Your impact will be felt forever. Lory Patrick, the accomplished television and film actress, writer, and director, has passed away peacefully at the age of 92 on January 26, 2026, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Known off-camera as Lory Basham Jones, she was also the widow of beloved Disney actor Dean Jones and a devoted mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Born Loretta Basham on April 8, 1933, in Beckley, West Virginia, Lory Patrick's path to Hollywood began with modeling. She briefly moved to Detroit after high school before relocating to New York City to pursue modeling and TV commercial work. Her early talent and charisma earned her a spot on the NBC game show Split Personality, opening the door to a career in television and film. After moving to Los Angeles, Patrick appeared on The Loretta Young Show and was signed by Universal Studios. She co-starred with Dale Robertson in the NBC series Tales of Wells Fargo, adopting the stage name Lory Patrick. Over the 1960s, she amassed an impressive resume, appearing in more than 70 television series, including Wagon Train, Bonanza, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, GE Theater, Alcoa Presents, and Dr. Kildare. She also appeared in films such as How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying and the beach classic Surf Party. Beyond acting, Patrick broke ground as a writer, contributing episodes to Bonanza at a time when female television writers were rare. She later authored the award-winning devotional book Hearing God, which received a 2000 Excellence in Print Award, and worked as a columnist for a writer's magazine, inspiring countless readers with her insights and creativity. Patrick's talents also extended to directing. In 1984, she directed the original stage production of the play St. John in Exile, starring her husband Dean Jones, which toured the country and remains performed today. When the play was adapted into a film in 1986, she was credited as stage director. Her dedication to storytelling, whether in front of the camera, on stage, or on the page, was a hallmark of her life. After Dean Jones's passing in 2015, Lory Patrick moved from Tarzana, California, to Gettysburg to be closer to family. She is survived by her children Caroline Jones and husband Steve Hogan, Deanna Demery and husband Tom Demery, and Michael Pastick and wife Dion Pastick. 8 grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren, her brothers Richard, Tom, and Paul Basham, and wife Ethel, sister Carol Vanderhoof, and extended family. Lory Patrick's life was one of pioneering spirit, creativity, and devotion to family and craft. She inspired generations through her work on screen, in print, and on stage, leaving a legacy of artistry, faith, and resilience. Rest in peace, Lory Patrick. Your contributions to television, film, theater, and literature will be remembered, and your spirit will live on in the lives you touched. Mary Louise Streep was born on June 22, 1949, in Summit, New Jersey, at a time when post-war America was redefining itself socially and culturally. Few could have imagined that this quiet child from suburban New Jersey would grow up to become one of the most celebrated actresses in cinematic history. Raised primarily in Basking Ridge, she grew up in a household that balanced discipline with artistic encouragement. Her mother, Mary Wilkinson Streep, was a commercial artist and art editor whose warmth and unwavering belief in her daughter would become one of the defining forces in Meryl's life. Her father, Harry William Streep Jr., worked as a pharmaceutical executive and brought structure and steadiness to the family. Meryl also had two younger brothers, Harry William Streep III and Dana David Streep, both of whom would later pursue acting. From an early age, Meryl demonstrated a flair for performance. As a young child, she loved dressing up and staging dramatic scenes in front of the camera for family home movies. Unlike many children who shy away from attention, she seemed energized by it. However, she was not initially drawn towards serious acting. In fact, during her early school years, she was more interested in popularity and social life than theater. She attended Cedar Hill Elementary School and later Oak Street School. Though she was raised as a Presbyterian, she had many Catholic friends and often attended Mass with them, exposing her to different traditions and perspectives from a young age. At the age of 12, a pivotal moment occurred when she was chosen to sing at a school recital. Her voice impressed listeners, and she began formal opera training under Estelle Liebling, a respected voice teacher in New York. For 4 years, she studied classical singing and developed a disciplined approach to performance. Her voice was powerful and technically impressive, but even as a teenager, she sensed something missing. She later reflected that she was singing material she did not emotionally understand. That realization that art must be felt deeply to be meaningful became one of the foundational lessons of her career. Eventually, she stopped her opera training, not because she lacked ability, but because she wanted authenticity. During her years at Bernard's High School, she evolved socially and personally. Once described as a gawky kid with glasses and frizzy hair, she gradually transformed into a confident young woman. She became a cheerleader and was crowned homecoming queen during her senior year, an ironic contrast to the intense, dramatic roles she would later embody on screen. Though she performed in school plays, acting was not yet a life ambition. She enjoyed it, but it did not define her. Everything changed when she enrolled at Vassar College in 1967. Initially, her focus was broad. She explored various subjects before committing fully to drama. It was during a 1969 campus production of Miss Julie that something shifted profoundly. Her performance stunned both classmates and professors. For the first time, she realized acting was not merely fun, it was transformative. Audiences responded to her depth and emotional clarity. A professor famously remarked that no one had truly taught her how to act. She seemed to instinctively understand it. Streep graduated cum laude from Vassar in 1971. With a Bachelor of Arts in Drama. Instead of settling for early success, she aimed higher and applied to the prestigious Yale School of Drama. Acceptance into Yale marked the beginning of one of the most intense training periods of her life. There, she immersed herself in classical theater, performing in more than a dozen stage productions each year. She tackled Shakespearean heroines, complex modern characters, and even elderly roles far beyond her years, demonstrating early on her extraordinary range. However, her Yale years were not without struggle. The workload was exhausting. She supported herself by working as a waitress and typist while rehearsing constantly. At one point, the physical and emotional strain became so overwhelming that she developed ulcers and briefly considered abandoning acting altogether to study law. But her passion prevailed. She refined her craft, studied voice and movement, and mastered dialect work, a skill that would later make her famous for seamlessly adopting accents from around the world. At Yale, she also encountered different acting philosophies. Some techniques, particularly emotional recall exercises that required delving into personal trauma, made her uncomfortable. She questioned whether vulnerability needed to come from pain, or whether imagination could be just as powerful. These intellectual debates shaped her approach: disciplined, thoughtful, and emotionally controlled, rather than indulgent. By the time she earned her Master of Fine Arts degree in 1975, Meryl Streep was no longer just a promising student. She was a fully formed stage actress, technically skilled, emotionally intelligent, and fiercely committed to authenticity. She had not yet become a film icon, nor had she won any awards, but the foundation had been built, a foundation of discipline, empathy, versatility, and relentless work ethic. The girl who once sang operatic arias without fully understanding their meaning had grown into an artist determined to understand every emotion she portrayed. Her journey from suburban New Jersey to the demanding halls of Yale drama was not glamorous, but it was transformative. It shaped the performer who would soon step onto the professional stage, and eventually redefine acting for generations to come. By 1975, fresh from Yale with an MFA and relentless stage training behind her, Meryl Streep arrived in New York City determined to conquer the theater world. Film was not her goal. Stage acting was her passion. That same year, she landed one of her first professional opportunities at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center's National Playwrights Conference, performing in 5 plays in just 6 weeks. The schedule was brutal, but it proved her stamina and versatility. Soon after, legendary producer Joseph Papp cast her in Trelawney of the Wells at the Vivian Beaumont Theater. It was the beginning of a rapid ascent in New York's theater scene. Within her first year, she appeared in multiple New York Shakespeare Festival productions, including Henry V, The Taming of the Shrew, and Measure for Measure. Critics began to take notice of her classical command, vocal precision, and ability to transform physically and emotionally from role to role. During this time, she met actor John Cazale while performing in Measure for Measure. Cazale, known for his deeply sensitive performances, became both her partner and emotional anchor. Their relationship would profoundly shape her personal and professional life. They moved in together, supporting one another's ambitions in the fiercely competitive acting world. In 1976, she earned a Tony Award nomination for her performance in a Broadway double bill of 27 Wagons Full of Cotton and A Memory of Two Mondays. The nomination marked her arrival as a serious stage actress. She also received critical praise for her work in The Cherry Orchard and the musical Happy End. By the mid-1970s, she was already considered one of the most promising actresses in New York theater. Although her heart remained in the theater, film opportunities began to surface. In 1977, she made her feature film debut in Julia, starring alongside Jane Fonda and Vanessa Redgrave. Her role was small and most of her scenes were edited out. Watching the final cut horrified her. She felt disconnected from the performance and briefly considered abandoning film entirely. Yet Jane Fonda's professionalism left a lasting impression on her, and the door to cinema remained open. That same period brought a transformative opportunity. Robert De Niro had seen her on stage and recommended her for a supporting role in The Deer Hunter. The Vietnam War drama would become a cultural landmark. Streep played Linda, the fragile girlfriend caught between loyalty and heartbreak. Though the role was not large, her emotional subtlety stood out. The film became a massive success and earned her first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Overnight, she was no longer just a respected theater actress. She was a rising film star. However, her professional breakthrough coincided with devastating personal tragedy. John Cazale had been diagnosed with terminal lung cancer during the filming of The Deer Hunter. Streep remained by his side throughout his illness, caring for him until his death in March 1978. The loss was profound. She later admitted that grief reshaped her understanding of vulnerability and emotional truth in performance. The pain deepened her artistry. In 1978, she starred in the television miniseries Holocaust, portraying a German woman married to a Jewish artist during the Nazi era. The series reached over 100 million viewers and brought her widespread national recognition. Her performance earned her a Primetime Emmy Award. Though she had initially accepted the role partly for financial stability, it cemented her reputation as a powerful dramatic force. In 1979, she appeared in Manhattan, directed by Woody Allen. Though her screen time was limited, she displayed sharp comedic timing and emotional intelligence. That same year, she took on one of the most important roles of her early career in Kramer vs. Kramer, opposite Dustin Hoffman. Cast as Joanna Kramer, a woman who leaves her marriage and later fights for custody of her son, Streep challenged the original script, believing her character was written too harshly. She advocated for a more nuanced portrayal, and parts of the script were rewritten to reflect a complex, conflicted mother rather than a villain. Her performance was electric, controlled, raw, and painfully human. Audiences were divided on the film's portrayal of divorce and motherhood, but critics were united in praise of her acting. For the role, she won both the Golden Globe and the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. In a now-famous anecdote, she accidentally left her Oscar in the ladies' room after her acceptance speech. By the end of the 1970s, Meryl Streep had achieved what few actors manage in a lifetime. She had conquered Broadway, earned Emmy recognition on television, and won an Academy Award in film, all before turning 31. Yet more importantly, she had established a defining trait that would follow her throughout her career: the refusal to play characters as stereotypes. Whether portraying a grieving lover, a conflicted wife, or a woman caught in historical tragedy, she demanded emotional complexity. The decade closed with her standing on the brink of superstardom. The theater-trained actress from New Jersey had proven she could command both stage and screen. The 1970s were not just her beginning. They were her transformation from promising performer to serious artist. And the most iconic performances of her career were still to come. As the 1980s began, Meryl Streep was no longer simply a respected actress. She was becoming a phenomenon. After winning her first Academy Award for Kramer vs. Kramer, the industry watched her every move. Magazine covers declared her the actress of her generation. Critics praised her intelligence, emotional precision, and increasingly her astonishing command of accents. But with acclaim came pressure. The question was no longer whether she was talented. It was whether she could sustain greatness. In 1981, she took on her first full leading film role in The French Lieutenant's Woman, opposite Jeremy Irons. The film was unconventional, telling two parallel love stories, one set in Victorian England and one in contemporary times. Streep had to shift between characters, eras, and emotional registers within the same narrative. To prepare, she mastered a refined English accent and internalized the restrained emotional codes of the Victorian period. The performance confirmed what many suspected: she was a chameleon. She won the BAFTA Award for Best Actress, strengthening her international reputation. But it was 1982 that would define not only her decade, but her legacy. That year she starred in Sophie's Choice, portraying Sophie Zawistowski, a Polish Holocaust survivor haunted by an unimaginable moral decision forced upon her at Auschwitz. The role demanded not only emotional devastation but linguistic brilliance. Streep learned Polish and German, adopting distinct accents depending on whether the character was speaking English in Brooklyn or recalling her past in Europe. Her performance was layered, fragile yet resilient, broken yet proud. The film's most harrowing moment, the scene in which Sophie is forced by a Nazi officer to choose which of her two children will die, became one of the most powerful scenes in cinematic history. Streep insisted on filming it in a single take, unable to emotionally withstand repeating it. The performance earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress and elevated her into rarefied territory. Critics called it one of the greatest performances ever captured on film. From that point forward, comparisons between Streep and any other actress often felt unfair. Yet success did not soften her work ethic. In 1983, she portrayed real-life nuclear whistleblower Karen Silkwood in Silkwood. Determined to portray Silkwood as a real woman rather than a symbol, Streep met with people who knew her personally, absorbing conflicting stories to construct a multidimensional character. Instead of heroic exaggeration, she offered humanity, strength mixed with doubt. The performance earned another Academy Award nomination and demonstrated her commitment to portraying women as complex individuals rather than archetypes. Throughout the mid-1980s, she gravitated toward emotionally intense, dramatic roles. In Out of Africa, she played Danish writer Karen Blixen, delivering an elegant performance marked by a cultivated European accent and restrained romantic longing. This sweeping epic became a major success, winning multiple Academy Awards. Though some critics felt the film relied heavily on its grandeur, Streep's presence grounded it in emotional sincerity. In 1988, she surprised audiences with A Cry in the Dark, released in some countries as Evil Angels, portraying Lindy Chamberlain, an Australian mother accused of murdering her baby after claiming a dingo had taken the child. Once again, Streep mastered another accent, this time Australian, and immersed herself in a controversial real-life case. Her portrayal captured the isolation and media persecution Chamberlain endured. The line, "The dingo's got my baby," became culturally iconic, though often parodied. Behind the meme was an intensely serious performance that earned her yet another Oscar nomination. By the late 1980s, a curious pattern emerged in media narratives. While she was universally respected, some critics began labeling her as too perfect or too technical. They argued her accent work and meticulous preparation risked overshadowing spontaneity. Streep took the criticism seriously. She began searching for roles that allowed more looseness, humor, and unpredictability. This shift became visible in 1989 with She-Devil, a dark comedy in which she played a glamorous romance novelist. The role allowed her to parody elegance and vanity, showing audiences she could laugh at herself. It was a strategic pivot, proof she was not confined to tragic intensity. The 1980s solidified Meryl Streep's identity not merely as a great actress, but as a transformative one. She did not repeat performances. She reinvented herself with each role: Polish survivor, British aristocrat, American activist, Danish writer, Australian mother. Languages, accents, emotional landscapes, each became tools in her expanding repertoire. More importantly, she expanded the scope of what female roles could be. At a time when many leading actresses were typecast into narrow archetypes, Streep portrayed women shaped by politics, trauma, intellect, motherhood, scandal, and moral complexity. She refused simplicity. By the end of the decade, she had accumulated multiple Academy Award nominations and 2 wins, international acclaim, and a reputation for unparalleled dedication. The phrase "the best actress of her generation" was no longer hyperbole, it was consensus. But the next decade would test her differently. The 1990s would challenge her box office power, her public image, and her ability to reinvent herself yet again. As the 1990s began, Meryl Streep faced a new kind of challenge. After dominating the 1980s with emotionally intense prestige dramas, she entered a decade where Hollywood was shifting. Blockbusters, high-concept thrillers, and younger leading stars were reshaping the industry. For the first time in years, critics began asking whether her era was fading. Instead of retreating, Streep adapted. In 1990, she starred in Postcards from the Edge, written by Carrie Fisher. Playing an actress struggling with addiction and a complicated relationship with her mother, Streep balanced vulnerability with sharp wit. The role allowed her to explore comedy layered with emotional fragility. Her performance earned another Academy Award nomination and proved she could blend satire with depth. The early 1990s saw her experiment with mainstream genres. In Death Becomes Her, alongside Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis, she embraced dark fantasy comedy. The film's exaggerated tone and groundbreaking visual effects were far removed from her earlier dramatic prestige work. Though critics were divided, audiences appreciated seeing her play vanity and rivalry with theatrical flair. That same year, she took on a more grounded and emotionally demanding role in The River Wild, portraying a whitewater rafting expert fighting to protect her family from criminals. It was a physical performance, intense, action-driven, and maternal. For many viewers, it was surprising to see Streep in a survival thriller, but it demonstrated her willingness to break expectations. The defining performance of the decade, however, came in 1995 with The Bridges of Madison County, directed by and starring Clint Eastwood. In the film, she portrayed Francesca Johnson, an Italian war bride living a quiet life in rural Iowa who experiences a brief but profound romantic encounter. Streep's transformation was subtle but extraordinary. She adopted a soft, Italian-inflected Midwestern accent and communicated deep longing through minimal gestures, glances, pauses, restrained tears. The performance was widely hailed as one of the most mature portrayals of romantic complexity in modern cinema. Critics praised her ability to internalize emotion rather than dramatize it. She received another Academy Award nomination, and many believe it was one of her most emotionally controlled and complete performances. The role reintroduced her to a new generation of audiences and reaffirmed her status as a leading actress capable of carrying a major film. Throughout the late 1990s, Streep continued to alternate between intimate dramas and experimental projects. In Marvin's Room, she starred opposite Diane Keaton and Leonardo DiCaprio, portraying a single mother confronting family illness and reconciliation. The performance was restrained, tender, and rooted in realism. In 1998, she appeared in One True Thing, playing a woman dying of cancer while her daughter cares for her. The film once again highlighted her ability to depict strength within vulnerability. Her portrayal earned another Academy Award nomination, reinforcing the fact that even in a decade of experimentation, her dramatic authority remained unmatched. Yet the 1990s were not only about film. Streep also devoted time to family life. She had married sculptor Don Gummer in 1978, and throughout this decade, she balanced motherhood with career demands. Unlike many stars consumed by celebrity culture, she kept her private life relatively quiet, focusing public attention on her work rather than personal drama. By the end of the 1990s, industry conversations about her supposed decline had largely disappeared. Instead, a new narrative emerged: resilience. She had transitioned from intense 1980s dramatic icon to a versatile, genre-fluid performer, capable of romance, comedy, thriller, and intimate family drama. The 1990s proved something essential about Meryl Streep. She was not defined by a single era. When the industry shifted, she shifted with it. When critics questioned her relevance, she responded not with statements, but with performances. The stage was now set for another transformation. In the 2000s, she would experience a career renaissance that introduced her to younger audiences and expanded her legend even further. As the new millennium began, many actors of Meryl Streep's generation were slowing down. Instead, Meryl Streep entered one of the most surprising and commercially successful phases of her career. The 2000s would not just reaffirm her legacy, they would reinvent her for an entirely new audience. In 2002, she appeared in Adaptation, playing eccentric author Susan Orlean opposite Nicolas Cage. The role allowed her to blend quiet insecurity with intellectual intensity. She received another Academy Award nomination, proving her continued dominance in serious cinema. The true cultural shift, however, came in 2006 with The Devil Wears Prada. As Miranda Priestley, the icy and commanding fashion editor, Streep delivered a performance that instantly became iconic. Unlike the novel's more caricatured version, she chose restraint, soft-spoken menace instead of loud tyranny. Inspired partly by real-life fashion figures, she created a character whose quiet authority was more terrifying than shouting could ever be. The performance transformed her image in pop culture. Younger audiences who had never seen Sophie's Choice now quoted Miranda Priestley's lines. The film was a massive box office success and earned her yet another Academy Award nomination. More importantly, it proved she could dominate comedy and mainstream hits just as effortlessly as heavy drama. In 2008, she stunned audiences again in Mamma Mia, a musical adaptation of the ABBA stage show. Singing and dancing on a Greek island, she embraced joy and theatricality with fearless enthusiasm. The film became one of the highest-grossing musical films of all time. For many viewers, it was refreshing to see an actress of her stature simply have fun on screen. She was no longer just the serious actress, she was a global entertainer. That same year, she delivered a deeply intense performance in Doubt, portraying Sister Aloysius, a strict Catholic school principal who suspects a priest of misconduct. Opposite Philip Seymour Hoffman and Amy Adams, Streep commanded every scene with moral rigidity and emotional ambiguity. The film earned her another Oscar nomination and reminded audiences that beneath the glamour and humor, her dramatic power remained unmatched. In 2009, she balanced comedy and warmth in Julie and Julia, playing legendary chef Julia Child. Once again, she mastered a distinctive voice and physical presence, capturing Child's high-pitched tone exuberance, and culinary passion without slipping into parody. The performance won her a Golden Globe and yet another Academy Award nomination. By the end of the 2000s, something extraordinary had happened. Instead of fading into legacy status, Streep had become more visible than ever. She was now a multi-generational icon, respected by critics, adored by mainstream audiences, and celebrated by younger fans discovering her for the first time. The decade also solidified a staggering pattern, nomination after nomination. She broke records for the most Academy Award nominations of any actor in history. Yet despite constant awards recognition, she continued to approach each role as if she had something to prove. The 2000s revealed a new dimension of Meryl Streep. Lighter, playful, commercially powerful, yet still deeply committed to craft. She demonstrated that longevity in Hollywood is not about repeating success, but evolving with culture. And the next decade would bring one of the most transformative roles of her career, playing one of the most powerful political figures in modern history. By the time the 2010s arrived, Meryl Streep was no longer just an acclaimed performer, she was an institution. With decades of critical triumph behind her, the question was no longer whether she was great, but how much further she could elevate her legacy. The answer came swiftly. In 2011, she portrayed former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in The Iron Lady. The role demanded extraordinary technical precision. Streep mastered Thatcher's vocal patterns, posture, physical aging, and psychological complexity across different stages of life. Rather than creating a political caricature, she portrayed Thatcher as a woman of ambition, conviction, loneliness, and decline. The performance required heavy prosthetics and meticulous voice work, but what stood out most was the emotional depth beneath the transformation. Her portrayal earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, her third Oscar win, cementing her as one of the most decorated actors in film history. By this point, she held the record for the most Academy Award nominations ever received by an actor. The win was not simply about one role, it symbolized 4 decades of excellence. Yet Streep did not retreat into prestige-only roles. She continued balancing serious drama with musical and ensemble projects. In 2014, she appeared in Into the Woods, playing the witch in the musical adaptation of Stephen Sondheim's stage production. The role required theatrical intensity, dark humor, and vocal strength. Her rendition of Stay With Me became a standout moment, proving her continued command of musical performance. She also took on powerful dramatic roles during the decade. In August, Osage County, she portrayed Violet Weston, a sharp-tongued matriarch battling addiction and family dysfunction. The performance was raw, volatile, and emotionally unfiltered. It earned her yet another Oscar nomination and showcased her willingness to play deeply flawed, even abrasive characters. In 2017, she starred in The Post, directed by Steven Spielberg and opposite Tom Hanks, playing Katharine Graham, the publisher of The Washington Post during the Pentagon Papers crisis. Streep embodied quiet strength and evolving leadership. The film resonated strongly in a politically charged era, and her performance was widely praised for portraying the growth of a woman stepping into authority under pressure. Another Academy Award nomination followed. Beyond acting, the 2010s marked a period of increased public influence. At the 2017 Golden Globe Awards, where she received the Cecil B. DeMille Award, she delivered a speech defending empathy, diversity, and artistic freedom. The speech went viral worldwide, reinforcing her status not just as an actress, but as a cultural voice. She also expanded her television presence. In 2019, she joined the acclaimed HBO drama Big Little Lies for its 2nd season. As Mary Louise Wright, she played a grieving, manipulative mother seeking the truth about her son's death. Her performance was subtle, yet chilling, earning her another Emmy nomination and proving she could dominate prestige television just as effectively as film. By the end of the decade, Streep had transcended the label of movie star. She was regarded as the gold standard of acting, an artist whose name alone elevated any project. Younger actors openly cited her as inspiration. Directors described her preparation as meticulous yet collaborative. Audiences viewed her not only as a performer, but as a symbol of artistic integrity. The 2010s demonstrated something remarkable: longevity at the highest level. Many actors experience peaks and declines. Streep's career, however, moved in waves of reinvention. Political leader, fairy tale witch, family matriarch, newspaper publisher, each performance felt distinct, yet unmistakably hers. As she entered the 2020s, one thing was clear. Meryl Streep was not simply part of film history. She was actively shaping it. Entering the 2020s, Meryl Streep had already achieved what most actors only dream of: 3 Academy Awards, over 20 Oscar nominations, and global recognition as one of the greatest performers in history. Yet she showed no signs of slowing down. Instead, this decade highlighted her adaptability, relevance, and enduring cultural power. In 2020, she appeared in The Prom, a musical comedy directed by Ryan Murphy. Playing Dee Dee Allen, a self-absorbed Broadway star seeking redemption, Streep leaned fully into satire and theatrical flair. The role allowed her to parody celebrity ego while maintaining emotional sincerity. Her performance earned another Golden Globe nomination, reinforcing her ability to thrive in ensemble-driven, modern productions. She also continued her growing presence in high-profile television. In 2023, she joined the Hulu series Only Murders in the Building, starring alongside Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Her role introduced her to an even younger streaming-era audience. The show's blend of mystery and comedy allowed her to display warmth, timing, and subtle vulnerability. Critics praised her seamless integration into the show's established dynamic, proving that even decades into her career, she could adapt to contemporary storytelling formats. Beyond acting, the 2020s have been marked by major lifetime honors. In 2024, she received the honorary Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, one of cinema's highest recognitions. The award symbolized international acknowledgement not just of individual performances, but of a lifetime dedicated to the craft. It placed her among a select group of artists whose influence transcends national cinema. Her legacy of honors stretches far beyond Cannes. She previously received the AFI Life Achievement Award, the Kennedy Center Honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and numerous global distinctions. These recognitions reflect not only artistic brilliance, but also cultural impact. Few performers have maintained excellence across 5 decades while continually evolving with the industry. What makes Streep's 2020s presence remarkable is not simply that she continues working, it's how naturally she fits into modern platforms. From theatrical dramas to streaming comedies, from historical figures to fictional eccentrics, she remains curious, experimental, and committed. Her influence also continues behind the scenes. Younger actors frequently cite her preparation methods, deep research, dialect mastery, script analysis as a model of professionalism. Directors describe her as collaborative and fearless. Audiences, meanwhile, view her as a symbol of artistic integrity in an industry often driven by trends. At over 70 years old, Meryl Streep remains active, respected, and culturally relevant. She has moved beyond comparisons. There is no next Meryl Streep. There is simply the standard she set. From a confident child in New Jersey to the most nominated actor in Academy Award history, her journey reflects discipline, empathy, resilience, and relentless evolution. Each decade reshaped her, but never diminished her. And as the story continues, one truth remains constant. Meryl Streep is not just one of the greatest actresses of her generation, she is one of the greatest in the history of cinema. As the decades pass, Meryl Streep has evolved from celebrated actress to living legend. Part 8 of her story is not defined by a single film or award, but by something far more profound: legacy. It is the chapter where her influence transcends roles and enters the DNA of cinema itself. By the 2020s, Streep's name had become shorthand for excellence. Directors no longer cast her simply for star power, they cast her for authority. Her presence in a project signals seriousness of craft. Younger actors speak of her in almost mythic terms, describing her preparation as scholarly and her performances as emotionally architectural, built layer by layer, intention by intention. One of the defining aspects of her legacy is transformation. Unlike many performers who cultivate a consistent screen persona, Streep rejects repetition. From Sophie Zawistowski in Sophie's Choice to Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada, from Margaret Thatcher in The Iron Lady to Julia Child in Julie and Julia, she disappears into character. Voice, posture, rhythm of speech, even breathing patterns, each is reconstructed. She does not play roles, she inhabits them. Her mastery of accents became almost a cultural phenomenon. Polish, Danish, British, Australian, Midwestern American, New York elite, she approaches dialect not as imitation, but as emotional geography. She once described accent as the music of thought. For her, changing voice means changing psychology. Another pillar of her legacy is the elevation of female complexity on screen. Throughout her career, she has consistently portrayed women with contradictions, ambitious yet vulnerable, nurturing yet conflicted, powerful yet uncertain. At a time when Hollywood often reduced women to archetypes, Streep demanded depth. In films like Kramer vs. Kramer and The Bridges of Madison County, she advocated for script changes to ensure her characters were not one-dimensional. She understood that representation shapes perception. Her influence extends into awards history. She holds the record for the most Academy Award nominations in acting categories, an unprecedented achievement. Yet what defines her career is not trophies, but consistency. For over 5 decades, she has remained relevant without scandal-driven publicity or reinvention gimmicks. Her reinvention is artistic, not cosmetic. In 2024, when she received the honorary Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, it symbolized global recognition of her life's work. The standing ovation was not merely for past performances, it was for sustained excellence. Few actors sustain peak artistry across generations of filmmakers, shifting industry trends and evolving audience expectations. Beyond film, Streep has also become a voice for artistic freedom and empathy. Her speeches, particularly her acceptance of the Cecil B. DeMille Award, emphasized compassion and inclusion. While never positioning herself primarily as a political figure, she uses her platform to defend storytelling as a bridge between cultures. Her television roles in Big Little Lies and Only Murders in the Building further demonstrate her adaptability. Streaming platforms, ensemble formats, shorter production cycles, none of it intimidates her. Instead, she integrates seamlessly, proving that great acting transcends medium. What truly distinguishes Meryl Streep in cinematic history is discipline. Colleagues consistently describe her arriving on set fully prepared, scripts annotated, motivations mapped, dialect refined, yet completely open to collaboration. She is known for listening deeply in scenes, reacting rather than performing at co-stars. This generosity elevates entire casts. Her career also challenges ageism in Hollywood. While many actresses face diminishing opportunities over time, Streep continues to headline major productions well into her 70s. She has redefined what longevity looks like, not survival, but sustained prominence. Culturally, her name has entered everyday language. When someone delivers an impressively dramatic performance, audiences joke, "Who do you think you are, Meryl Streep?" It is both humor and homage. Her name equals mastery. Looking back, her journey forms a remarkable arc. 1970s, theater prodigy to Oscar winner. 1980s, transformational performances that define cinematic intensity. 1990s, reinvention and romantic maturity. 2000s, pop culture icon and record-breaking nominee. 2010s, political authority and global honors. 2020s, streaming era relevance and lifetime recognition. Few artists achieve dominance in one era. Fewer still sustain it across 5. And perhaps the most extraordinary part of her story is that she never appeared driven by celebrity itself. Her focus remained craft. When asked about acting, she often returns to empathy, imagining what it feels like to be someone else. That philosophy explains her longevity. She does not chase trends, she chases truth. As cinema evolves into new technologies, new platforms, and new storytelling styles, Meryl Streep remains a constant reference point. Film students study her performances, actors analyze her timing, critics measure contemporary work against her standards. She is not simply part of film history, she is a benchmark within it. And as long as stories continue to be told on screen, the art of becoming someone else, of fully disappearing into character, will always trace back to one name: Meryl Streep. By this stage in her life and career, Meryl Streep had moved beyond awards, records, and critical comparisons. The conversation was no longer about whether she was the best actress of her generation. It was about how she redefined what longevity in acting could look like. Very few performers remain central to the industry across 5 decades. Even fewer continue to evolve within it. What separates Streep from many legendary actors is not just talent, but adaptability. She never allowed herself to be frozen in one era. In the 1970s, she represented raw dramatic power. In the 1980s, she embodied prestige and intensity. In the 1990s, she navigated career recalibration. In the 2000s, she experienced commercial resurgence. In the 2010s and 2020s, she embraced reinvention through musicals, political satire, streaming series, and multi-generational storytelling. Her work in projects like Only Murders in the Building demonstrated something profound. She was not protecting a legacy. She was still building one. Appearing in a contemporary mystery comedy series alongside actors from different generations showed her comfort in collaborative spaces where ego takes a backseat to ensemble rhythm. That willingness to adapt keeps her culturally present rather than nostalgically remembered. Her influence on actors is immeasurable. Performers across generations, from stage-trained dramatic actors to mainstream films, cite her preparation process as a masterclass in craft. She approaches accents as architecture. She studies dialect patterns with academic precision. She constructs backstories that never appear on screen but shape every gesture. Directors have often remarked that she arrives on set fully formed yet open to discovery. The numbers alone are historic. With 21 Academy Award nominations, more than any actor in history, and 3 wins, she occupies a statistical space that may never be matched. But the numbers tell only part of the story. Awards reflect recognition. They do not explain emotional reach. What truly defines her career is the way audiences connect with her characters. Whether portraying a Holocaust survivor, a culinary icon, a demanding fashion editor, or a struggling mother, she finds humanity before performance. There's also the matter of discipline. Unlike many stars who rely on persona, Streep consistently disappears. The transformation is not cosmetic alone. Her vocal pitch changes, her posture shifts, her breathing rhythm alters. Even her eye focus adapts to character psychology. It is not exaggeration to say that she treats acting as both science and poetry. As Hollywood has changed, with the rise of streaming platforms, franchise dominance, and shifting audience behaviors, she has not resisted evolution. Instead, she has moved with it. That flexibility speaks to intellectual curiosity. It also speaks to security. Actors who fear irrelevance often cling to past formulas. Streep has repeatedly stepped into unfamiliar territory. Her off-screen presence has been equally significant. She has advocated for gender equality in film, spoken openly about pay disparity, and supported initiatives promoting women filmmakers. Her speeches at award ceremonies frequently blend humor with pointed cultural commentary. She uses her visibility not for controversy, but for conversation. Even now, she remains selective, yet active. Every new project generates anticipation, not because she needs to prove anything, but because audiences trust the depth she brings. When her name appears in casting announcements, expectations rise instantly. There is an interesting paradox to her legacy. Despite global recognition, she has maintained relative privacy. She has been married for decades to sculptor Don Gummer, raised 4 children, and largely avoided the tabloid spectacle that consumes many celebrities. The stability of her personal life contrasts with the emotional turbulence of many of her roles. That balance may be one reason her career endured without implosion. As time moves forward, her place in film history becomes less about comparison and more about permanence. She is now discussed alongside foundational cinematic figures rather than contemporary peers. Film schools analyze her performances frame by frame. Critics revisit her early work with renewed appreciation. Younger audiences discover her through streaming and realize that the legend still feels modern. In the end, her legacy is not built on one defining role. It is built on range, on risk, on resilience, on refusing to stagnate. Few actors manage to sustain excellence for 50 years. Fewer still remain relevant across cultural shifts, industry upheavals, and generational turnover. Meryl Streep did not simply succeed in Hollywood. She mastered survival within it, artistically, intellectually, and culturally. And that may be her greatest achievement of all. As her story moves into its final chapter, Meryl Streep stands not just as a celebrated performer, but as an institution in herself. Very few artists reach a point where their name alone represents a standard. In acting, Streep level has become shorthand for excellence. What makes her career extraordinary is not only its length, but its consistency. Across more than 5 decades, she avoided creative complacency. She did not remain trapped in ingenue roles, nor did she fade quietly when Hollywood shifted toward youth-driven storytelling. Instead, she matured publicly, allowing audiences to grow older alongside her. Each life stage brought different characters: mothers, leaders, artists, flawed icons, complex women navigating power and vulnerability. Her performances are often studied in acting schools not merely as entertainment, but as technical case studies. Students analyze her breath control, emotional pacing, vocal layering, and physical stillness. Directors reference her rehearsal discipline. Co-stars frequently describe how she elevates scenes simply by listening, reacting in ways that feel spontaneous yet precise. Beyond technique, there is emotional intelligence. She does not judge her characters. Even when portraying morally ambiguous or difficult figures, she searches for motivation rather than caricature. That empathy is perhaps the invisible thread connecting her entire filmography.